Alrighty, we got the spot back, the spider's gone, and I'm very, very excited to talk about the book I just read. Oh look, there it is. Wait a second. So, The Road by Cormac McCarthy. And what's this? Well, let's get into it. Bam, hopefully that translates well. Question mark? The sun's in your face. There we go. I'll block it. But yeah, truthfully, bad joke, but pretty sure it's also been done before. Maybe, most likely. Billions of people in the world, somebody's thought of that bad idea. But yeah, we're gonna talk about The Road today. I really do hope it doesn't. Let's see. There we go. Potentially better. I prefer that. Okay. But yeah, again, bad joke aside, we're talking about The Road. I finished it recently. This isn't going to necessarily be a review about The Road, more so the experience of reading it and just some things I picked up on. To some extent, I still feel like I'm not smart enough to really dissect it all too well. So I'll try and I'll give my thoughts. But obviously, quick overview. It's about a man and his son just traveling down a road. All the things they encounter. I guess the sort of thought process of like being in this, post-apocalyptic, hopeless world. And I think that's a large part of it, honestly. Kind of existing in this cruel, desolate world. But finding a kind of hope where you can, finding hope in people, maybe, obviously with the man finding hope in his boy, and really the only reason why he goes on is because of the son. And that's an idea I think that gets like brought up a lot, especially in the beginning, but obviously throughout certain decisions the son makes, or just like their interactions. I think a lot of them are kind of beautiful in ways. There's some standout moments to me, mainly with like the writing or just like the scenarios and like how the man kind of like approaches the relationship with the son. There's a bit really early on because with the man as his character, he's sort of like a stereotypical kind of guy, like provider mentality only, and everything he's doing is for the survival of himself and the son. So he's like very calloused, and I don't know what's another good word. I don't know, but he's a very like rough kind of guy, right? Can't show an inch of yourself. Gotta be strong for everybody, and I mean especially in a world like theirs, it's necessary for their survival, right? But of course, the boy, just being a boy, there's a certain like whimsical, I guess, like kind of nature to him, childlike, obviously. And I'm not gonna say soft or naive necessarily, because I feel like the boy is very much in tune with the world's cruelty and the road's cruelty. But still, there's something in him that's kind and something in him that's precious. And I think the man sees that, and the man sees that as like a kind of hope. Again, that things from like the world past are still present to some extent. There's some lines really, really early on saying how like if God exists, it exists through the son, and the son is kind of like an angel. There's a bit of like a metaphor there about that. But I guess going on to a bit that I really like, again, this whole relationship between the father and the son, and the father trying to, basically give the son lessons, right? But obviously they're very harsh lessons about survival and whatnot. And of course the son can't handle it. The son is still very much a kid, and maybe in some ways wants to just be a kid, but the world doesn't allow for it, right? There's a part early on where the man is explaining like what the son needs to do, because the man needs to go somewhere to like get some stuff for them, or like basically scout, and the son is very scared, obviously. But it's like pitch black, and the man is explaining this, and the son kind of goes nonverbal after a while. And the man has a kind of thought process, and like in the thought process, like it explains that he's like so ready to get angry at the kid, but then just a minor flash from the moonlight, and he sees that the kid was just nodding the whole time. just like a lesson for the man, right? Again, like cruel world, but that doesn't mean you have to be cruel to others, or yeah, I guess that's it. You don't have to be cruel to others. You don't have to immediately jump towards like stronger emotions like anger, just to get a point across, especially a point across as somebody you love, right? Yeah, but I thought that was a great moment. And then again, just other minor moments here and there, moments that are like full of hope. Obviously, I think a major one is whenever they find a kind of safe haven after traveling the road for so long, and then it becomes kind of whimsical to some extent, or whimsical is not a bad word, but like potentially hopeful, I guess, whenever they reach their sort of final destination, or I guess like planned destination, right? It's like, all right, great, like they made it. That's the end of the book. And then it goes on for like, another like 50, 70 pages. So it's like, okay, well, we'll see how it goes. But no, amazing book, an amazing journey. And I think that's really attributed to the writing. This book does something different that I personally haven't seen in a lot of books. I mean, I've read some books here and there, but I've never seen something done like this, very like non-traditional in terms of the dialogue, where you kind of have to pick apart who's speaking in the dialogue chain, because it doesn't stop every second to just say he said, or like the boy said, the man said, because again, the characters don't have names, and they talk at each other like quite often throughout the book. So there are just like full pages of one line of dialogue, and then like indented, spaced out another line of dialogue, and then it just kind of goes on like that, and then bits of description here and there. But like another large part of the book as well is just like description. It's just like describing the environment. It's sort of weird. Again, this is a post-apocalyptic world, but or not but. So the assumption would be it's very gray, very desolate. But there's so much that's done just to describe everything. Like, again, just like a weird writing thing, but so many different ways to say the word gray, right? It's sort of amazing in that way. Such like descriptive detail, because then again, like a lot of the book usually has to say about how like there's suffering, and there's so many ways that are found to explain the suffering, the hunger, the fear, but then like so many small ways to express the joy whenever they do find something that's going to help them on their journey, or even then just explaining how barren everything is, right? Like talking about gray landscapes, illuminated by moonlight or illuminated by like the thunder strikes and whatnot, the sort of cold and mist that like follows them, or like shrouds where they want to go, and then whenever they're exploring houses or exploring areas, just the immense amount of detail that goes into explaining. I mean, like sometimes just like a single can or a single jar that's like laying on a cupboard. It's amazing. And it's weird because I think when I had first heard about this book, it was a friend that told me about it. And then he explained that there was a movie about it. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not much of a reader at the moment, so I'll just go ahead and watch the movie. And I watched the movie, and I mean, I don't remember much about it now. Like that was probably like 6 years ago or something now. But I was familiar with the book's author, Cormac McCarthy, because I really like No Country for Old Men. So I was sort of aware that he's kind of like a bit of a non-traditional storyteller, and there's lots of sort of metaphor in the things he talks about, whether it be like in the environments. Like I'm pretty sure the road is like a very larger metaphor. Can I pick it out at the moment? Not necessarily. I mean, my only idea is sort of what I expressed. Like the road is just kind of talking about like the world itself, or I guess like a metaphor for the world itself, or a what do you call it, like symbolic representation of the world, right? No, there's a more specific word that I'm looking for that I can't pinpoint at the moment, but anyways, but yeah, so I'm familiar with Cormac McCarthy and his ability to tell a story that has so much in it but can also still be sort of vague to some extent. So you really need to like pick at it for long periods of time. And I really did try with this book. I made a handful of annotations here and there, or more so just like rough thoughts about what I had read, because this is the first book that I was like trying to read just like in chunks, basically, to like absorb it as like a story properly, and not just sit and like nitpick every 2 seconds, which I think worked out because I enjoyed the story way much more. Enjoyed it a lot. And again, just like being able to sit there and read pages at a time, because again, most of it's either in dialogue or most of it's in description. It'd be sort of annoying to like stop and pause, you know. Every single second something came to me. Like I think it was sort of beneficial to just sit there and read it as it is and absorb it and continue absorbing everything that comes after it, right? Another really important thing too that I want to mention, something that I liked honestly, is obviously the whole journey is with the boy and the man, and there's, you know, the this heavy idea regarding dreams and how dreams are almost like a weakness in ways because they represent what the old world was. I mean, like a lot of the times when you dream, you'd hope it's about good stuff, but there's no good in this world anymore. So to dream on that makes you want to feel trapped in there. And the only way to stay trapped in the dream is, well, you know, to be dead, to give up. So the man heavily discourages against good dreams, but then the boy only ever seems to have bad dreams, and the man can have bad dreams sometimes too. But a lot of his dreams typically revolve around the wife, who is already passed, but she has such a large presence throughout the book. I feel like a lot of the man's decisions are sort of like she's the catalyst, basically. She's also sort of reason why he wants to live. Obviously the main thing is for the boy, and she brings up a kind of contradiction within his mentality about survival. The fact that it is cruel to continue living in a world that's so, I guess, evil and uncaring, right? And then it's, you know, doubly cruel to bring the boy along in such a, I guess, nasty world, right? So maybe this like idea they're touching upon is the kind of cruelty and like maybe even selfishness with parents who bring in children that they can't necessarily provide for in good ways. This is like completely off track, but it's just something I was thinking about. Again, like I don't know if it was like intentional or whatever to read it that way, but I did read it that way. The man is kind of selfish and he wants someone to survive alongside while he's on the road, so he just brings the boy along. And the boy expresses these very deep thoughts of like a kind of nihilism, obviously like driven by fear. The boy is very scared often, you know, and it does hurt the man, you know what I mean? But the man just feels for some reason they need to survive, they need to keep living. And the boy can see it sometimes too, because what the man taught the boy was the carrying the fire theme or motif, the fact that they're good guys in a bad world, and they're the ones that need to help everything, right? Their purpose, essentially. But again, like incredibly deep, I guess almost like philosophical in some ways kind of book, but also very simple. I mean, like they are just traveling down a road the whole way through. But it's very beautiful in some ways, and then obviously very gut-wrenching and terrible at times. Again, just because of testament to the writing, right, and how descriptive it can be. Just again, like painting a picture, obviously, of like how gray everything is, but how like horrible some of the stuff is in this world. But then again, just inspiring like bits of hope here and there whenever there is like a bit of light, right? Whenever there is like a full can of food, right? But yeah, but just some like off-topic things. But yeah, again, it was a friend that recommended this to me way back, and the copy that I got was from Half Price Books, so it has like some annotations here and there, or you know, just like markings of like what the previous reader thought was important. And it's funny. I like I've said it before, but I don't like go out of my way to like watch reviews of stuff a lot of the time, unless I'm really invested into it, and I truly do want to go out there and like see other people's opinions. And I think it's good to get a second opinion. Again, me not being all that clever, or you know, not as clever as I think I am, I do miss a lot of things. So it was kind of nice to see somebody like point out the things that they found interesting. But then it's weird too, because if they were reading and they were just as invested, but then I guess it's just a testament to this idea that we're very different people, me and this previous reader. But some of the stuff they were marking, I'm like, it's a nice sentiment in the moment, yeah, but it's rather obvious. I'm not gonna share what they said, but some of the stuff I'm like, okay, yeah, like yeah, it's a good line or whatever, but I think the line after that is way better. You know what I mean? More descriptive about the whole situation. I think I actually have something written down that I can share that's basically gonna like sum up the whole book. Give me a second. All right, I'm back. So 2 things actually. It was a metaphor that I really liked, descriptive based metaphor, and then the other one is basically a paragraph that to me sort of encapsulates sort of what I was talking about throughout this whole thing, like a sort of hopelessness that exists within the world, that's just built on like the descriptions. But I'll go ahead and start with the metaphor, something lighter before we get into any craziness. The melted window glass hung frozen down the walls like icing on a cake. Just simple, right? but again, I like the what is it? The complete like contrast. Obviously saying melted, which would imply heat, but then frozen, right? So 2 things that almost like contradict each other, but in this instance become the same, like icing on a cake. Icing is frozen in place, but it has the illusion that it's melting. I don't know. I again, like incredibly descriptive and made me imagine exactly what was going on. So I like that a lot. But yeah, here's the paragraph. He got up and walked out to the road, the black shape of it running from dark to dark. Then a distant low rumble, not thunder. You could feel it under your feet, a sound without cognate and so without description, something imponderable shifting out there in the dark. Man, that's that. Again, like a lot of it has to do with the road and talking about the road. And I like it in this paragraph because it makes it seem like it's this entity, this sort of evil, this, this thing really. And even then, just like some of the descriptions in there, the distant low rumble you could feel under your feet, sound without cognate and so without description, shifting out there in the dark, or something shifting out there in the dark, right? It's talking about like potential dangers out there in the world, things you can't really see, but like somewhere deep down you feel something bad is out there. So of course it makes you scared, but I guess tying back to them carrying the light, they're the light in this darkness. They have to travel down the road. They have to do something, you know what I mean? Because being still admits defeat, and being too scared also admits defeat. It means you die in this world. But yeah, but just really, really great paragraph, and I thought it really captured a lot. I feel like there's one more thing I wanted to say, but now I can't find it, unfortunately. Which is weird, because it was good too. It was really good. Let me sit on it for a second. Okay, yeah. With me talking about how, like potential dangers and stuff, right? I say potential because sure, throughout the journey, the man and the boy run into like a lot of bad shit, right? But they do end up reaching where they want to go, right? The man mentions by the end of it that, like you and me, like we were lucky and we're going to keep being lucky. You know what I mean? So we just got to keep going. Super like simple to some extent. And then again, like there's that like sort of like pessimist in the mind that's like, oh yeah, lucky, right? Like having to go through so much bad stuff. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're still alive. You know what I mean? You're still surviving to some extent. And yeah, there's some tough times on the road, but there's always a kind of tomorrow, and there's always a sort of joy in being able to be here and experience it. That's just what I was thinking. But yeah, that's about it. The road. Loved it. We'll probably have to revisit it because I know I missed a lot. Again, not necessarily like a dissection of themes, but more so just what I thought. But yeah, take care.